Tenali Raman and the Talking Temple. In the heart of the grand Vijayanagara Empire lay the village of Malappuram, famous for its sweet mangoes and a beautiful old temple dedicated to Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge. But a strange quiet had fallen over the village. A new tax officer, a portly man named Govinda, with eyes as small and sharp as mustard seeds, had arrived. Soon after, a rumor began to spread like wildfire. The statue of the goddess in the temple could talk. And, according to Govinda, she was demanding offerings of gold. "The goddess wishes to see your devotion," he would announce in the village square. "Your gold will please her and bring prosperity." Frightened and pious, the villagers began bringing their precious earrings, bangles, and coins to the temple, laying them at the statue's feet. One sunny afternoon, a traveler arrived in Malappuram. He was a man with a mischievous twinkle in his eye, and a mind as sharp as a poet's pen. It was Tenali Raman, the cleverest wit in the king's court, traveling disguised as a simple wandering poet. He immediately noticed the sad, worried faces of the villagers. He saw women with bare earlobes and men who sighed as they counted their few remaining coins. In the tea shop, he heard them whispering. "The goddess spoke again last night," one man said. "She demanded the blacksmith's last gold chain." Tenali Raman stroked his chin thoughtfully. A goddess of knowledge demanding gold instead of wisdom? It seemed very strange indeed. Tenali made his way to the temple. The air inside was thick with the smell of incense and fear. He bowed before the magnificent stone statue of the goddess, who sat holding a lute and a book. As he looked up, he noticed something odd. In the high, domed ceiling of the mandapa, directly above the statue's head, were several fine cracks in the ancient stone. He could feel a faint, cool draft coming from them. Just then, Govinda bustled past, scooping the day's offerings into a large cloth bag. He didn't even glance at the goddess, but he did give the pile of gold a very greedy smile. Tenali's eyes narrowed. Tenali's curiosity led him to a small, forgotten door at the side of the temple. It opened into what the temple inscription called the Hall of Wisdom, the library. But there was no wisdom here. The room was choked with dust and draped in cobwebs. The wooden shelves, which should have been overflowing with priceless palm leaf manuscripts, were almost completely bare. A few tattered scrolls lay forgotten in a corner. A true goddess of knowledge, Tenali thought, would never let her library fall into such ruin. She would value a single page of poetry more than a mountain of gold. Now he was sure Govinda was a cheat. A brilliant plan began to form in Tenali's mind. He went to the village elders. "Such a generous, talking goddess deserves a celebration," he declared. "I am a humble poet, and I wish to hold a grand recital of poems in her honor, right here in the temple." The villagers, desperate for some good fortune, loved the idea. "I will need only one thing," Tenali added. "A large, beautifully painted screen to be placed behind the statue. It will serve as a backdrop for my performance." Govinda, overhearing this, rubbed his hands together in glee, imagining the huge offerings the villagers would bring after a poetry festival. He eagerly helped them set up the screen. That evening, the temple was packed. Every villager in Malappuram sat on the cool stone floor, their faces lit by the warm glow of oil lamps. Govinda had saved a seat for himself right at the very front. Tenali Raman began his performance. His voice, rich and melodious, filled the hall with tales of clever heroes and just kings. He recited poems about the beauty of truth and the wealth of knowledge. The villagers were mesmerized. Then, as he finished a particularly beautiful verse, he bowed deeply and, unnoticed by the captivated audience, slipped silently behind the painted screen. A moment of silence fell. Then, a new voice echoed through the temple, seeming to come from the very stone of the statue itself. It was deep, loud, and powerful. "My faithful people of Malappuram," it boomed, "your devotion has been overwhelming." The villagers gasped. It was the goddess. "You have given me so much gold that my celestial treasuries are overflowing. I have no more room for it." Govinda's jaw dropped. The voice continued. "I have decided to return it all to you. True wealth is not in gold, but in your hearts and minds." "The generous tax officer Govinda has been helping me keep it safe," the statue's voice thundered. He has been so very careful with it. In fact, the last bag of your coins is hidden most securely under the large, loose floorstone beneath the mat in his office." All at once, every eye in the temple turned to Govinda, who had gone as white as a sheet of paper and was trying to hide behind a pillar. Just at that moment, the temple doors swung open. In walked the king of Vijayanagara himself, with his royal guards. He had been visiting a nearby town and had come to see the famous temple. Tenali Raman stepped out from behind the screen and bowed low before his king. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice clear and steady, "it seems we have witnessed a miracle and solved a crime." He quickly explained everything, his suspicions, the cracks in the roof through which a voice could be projected, the sad, empty library, and Govinda's wicked scheme. On the king's command, the guards stormed Govinda's office. A moment later they returned, holding a heavy bag of gold. They had found it exactly where the goddess had said it would be. The king's face was like a thundercloud. Justice was swift. Govinda was ordered to repay every single coin he had stolen from the people of Malappuram. The king, impressed by Tenali's wisdom, asked him what should be done with the recovered gold. "A goddess of knowledge, Your Majesty, would want her house in order," Tenali said with a smile. "Let the gold be used to repair the temple roof, and more importantly, to fill the library with new books and manuscripts." The king agreed. Weeks later, the temple was not famous for a talking statue, but for its magnificent, restored library. It was a place of light and learning, where every evening the villagers gathered to share stories and listen to poetry, celebrating the real treasure that Tenali Raman had helped them find.